Well, actually, I was just just making my argument on why we won't miss the bull run. But number two leads into that argument perfectly. 500 million of sacrifice money gets bridged in the pulse chain, and that's why I really truly believe we won't miss the bull run.
So my understanding is that this one is in direct reference to sacrifice funds that were used to purchase Ethereum. Those will later be used to actually pump PulseChain itself. I mean, theoretically, the argument makes sense, which is that the whale wants to buy the things that the whale likes, and he likes PulseChain clearly, so he wants to do well over there. At the same time, though, that seems more like a extra factor as opposed to the other fundamentals going on, which is Bitcoin 4-year cycle, Hart's law, or liquidity pairing, if you will. And it is that extra pump that could really get you from like that 100x to the 1000x. It's something that could do that, but overall, I think there will still be price appreciation without it. But if that does happen, oh yeah, absolutely massive event.
I would say as well, you'll probably have like those feedback loops, like you're saying, like if even if the like money, I think as well as like good point is for you guys, for anyway, listeners, I don't think you're gonna have, and maybe it does happen, but I don't think you're gonna have $500 million bridged in at one time and then injected into the liquidity pool at one time.
How do you? I was going to ask, how do you think it'd look? Like what? I mean, we talked about before, different strategies, a little bit at a time, compounding. Over like what are some strategies around it if it were to happen?
And I wouldn't be surprised if we're in those strategies right now. Like Richard's probably, and I think there is proof on chain of him kind of market making PulseChain and Hex to a certain extent, whether it's through liquidity providing or just through like potentially even trading the charts. But one thing I will say is that I do think probably a slower injection, and then you'll probably start to see these kind of larger kind of bridge amounts coming in. And I wouldn't be surprised if you get like the feedback loop. So like even regular people trying to, like, let's say front run the SAC money, which they don't know when or if it's actually ever going to come. But I think as soon as you start to see like even like small DCAs, or like you start to see some more activity in these ETH wallets, you'll probably start to see a lot people get more excited about some of these funds. Because yeah, right now I think it's in the back of everyone's mind, but it hasn't been since like I think last year in like January, and since we've seen like I think some of those SAC funds come over, so I think we might be getting prepped here for some movements. But I think Richard also, like, perhaps he might have like looked at what happened last time, and I think it was actually good that we had a little bit of a pump and then you had people just get out of there, because if Richard, or if I'm saying Richard, but if a big player wants to come in and buy back people's stacks, like they will have to buy back higher if they see that there is a big entity coming across the bridge. So
I think this comment's really interesting too. I personally don't want to depend on RH to drop the sack to pump her bags, because then it's not organic growth. What is the argument? Because again, I guess I always frame this as, I trust whoever the whale's judgment is. I trust the judgment. That person definitely trusts RH judgment in a lot of ways too, of framing the ecosystem, whatever else. So I just can't imagine that it wouldn't be done. If it is done, I couldn't imagine it wouldn't be done in a way that encourages growth. But obviously, it could go the other way as well. What is the what is the for and against on that? I guess, or
so shout out to Agent J, my co-host over at DJ Roundtable.
Shout out to Agent J.
We've talked about this a good bit, and the thing with this is that you can kind of imagine this argument is similar to a founder at a meme coin that they launch, which is that if you have someone who has such a large position that they can artificially pump a price because of the comparison of their bags to the size of a liquidity pool, it doesn't give you confidence in the underlying fundamentals of the token itself. What you're seeing is just pure price appreciation from the standpoint of someone injecting capital and then other people potentially removing capital if they're set up well to do it. It's a different argument in degree when it comes to this, because the amount of capital required to pump an ecosystem like this is going to be much, much greater. And you get to that level where it's like you're almost rivaling some nation states at that point when it comes to a bankroll. So it's a similar argument, but at the same time, with a pool this large, it does lose some of the validity. But the point here is that if you can get more organic growth, what that shows is that there's more individuals out there who are willing to put their money where their mouth is and get involved with the program, as opposed to one large player who can really control it like it's almost a lever.
I think
I've thought
another
about this a little bit to where the point, I of course I want organic growth. I want a million new users to be onboarded on the Pulse chain. And if we get a million new users, we're going to be everyone that's in here now is going to be completely set for the future. One of the things I kind of thought about was back when Hex like really started taking off. Every time I wanted to hit that sell button, I would see faces like Kong and RHMax and Zenith. Your faces would pop up in my head, and you guys would have tears saying, "Please don't dump on me. Please don't dump on me." And so I wouldn't dump because I'm like, "Oh man, if I do this, I'm gonna kill the charts for everybody." And it stopped me from selling just a little bit. However, if a lot of the money is now coming from just say like a sacrifice wallet, that kind of reverses the PvP elements of crypto and kind of turns it into a PvE player versus environment. And now I kind of don't feel guilty taking money from the sacrifice contributions, more or less, if that makes sense. It kind of turns it against like a little bit of a PvP into a PvE type scenario, and exactly that's hex guilt. But I mean that's one of the things I was kind of thinking about regarding that.
I
But
think that's
but
a
but what my last thing I'll say about that before I pass the mic is that I think that the idea of the sacrifice coming into the pulse chain, I think that's an incredible marketing tool because when people buy into these coins, they're going to have the question, all right, who's going to buy after me? You know, and right now we're like, well, we just need to onboard a million new people, and that's the next buyers. But with us, we can say, hey, look, front run this potential whale, and that's how we can get a bunch of new people to come into our market.
Kong, do you have something?
Yeah, I wanted to share my screen actually, and it's kind of relative to kind of PulseChain and Ethereum because I think and I don't exactly know what people have in terms of their expectations, but Ethereum took a
Zero,
long,
right?
yeah, right, but even in terms of even in terms of like the growth and stuff, I'll share Ethereum here because I think this is kind of an interesting point. Um, it took Ethereum over 1,000 days to go from essentially like 800 or sub 1,000 daily active users here, and then it kind of climbed up to where PulseChain is now, like 8 to maybe 15,000 depending on the day. Um, it might even be way more than like 8,000 on the low end now, but you can see here like it spent a lot of time just kind of like pretty much years and years and years, right? Like probably at least 700 days between this range of like 8,000 addresses and like maybe 20,000 addresses. And then you can see pretty much what happened to ETH as that 2017 bull market hit. So yeah, but like Richard's also compared price performance or what could be the price performance of Pulse Chain to things of Ethereum and things of Hex as well. Like Hex did, I think Richard quoted it like 10,000 X in like 600 and something days or something like this. So yeah, I think kind of the point is here as well as like if you guys are looking in terms of adoption and even comparing this to Ethereum, you can actually see like I think it took Ethereum like 1,000 plus days to go like essentially from zero addresses to like above like 100,000 here. So maybe we could expect like even if we just match the growth of Ethereum, like you're looking at a thousand days, and then even if like it's 2x better, I think maybe by now like if you're at that kind of like year and a half 2 year mark, then we like I think kind of the point is like I think even relatively speaking, PulseChain has more daily active users than where Ethereum was kind of back then. And I think the point is as well is that we're waiting for, and I'm saying waiting for, but I think this is kind of what we're looking for in terms of price appreciation, right? And like, even when we're talking about like, it can be like, it doesn't have to be the SAC funds and only the SAC funds, right? You'll probably have like, this is kind of what I look at in terms of like the positive feedback loop. As you have like price pumping, right? You'll probably have more people coming in, which causes more price to pump, which causes more people to come in, which causes more price to pump. And this is kind of, I'm not saying it'll be the exact result, but this is sort of the result you'll see from that, right? So you'll probably just need that original kind of kick. And I think we'll get into like kind of overall bull market stats. But I don't think the altcoins, like even in general, have like maybe some of them, but I don't think majority of the altcoins have really started their major like bull market altcoin season. Like I don't, like if you check out the Bitcoin dominance, like it's still up there,